Welcome back to the Boys in Motion podcast, the show where endurance sports meets bad ideas, good vibes, and occasionally questionable start of season decisions. I'm Andrew, joined as always by Brian and Tyler, and today's episode is going to be a little bit different. No agenda, lots of banter, and a quick Burrito League recap.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Oh yeah, these episodes are a fan favorite. They're also our favorites to record. We love the boys banter episodes. It's really what Boys in Motion is all about. So we're talking community, consistency in the Burrito League challenges, and yeah, really not taking yourself too seriously in endurance sports. So whether you've been crushing your training lately or having a little bit of a dry training January, this episode is for you either way.
Yeah, exactly. I'm all about the banter. This is basically what I'm built for, so I'm ready to go. I don't know about you guys, but the last few weeks have been pretty wild and crazy. I don't do too much mileage, but when I do, I just get it all done in one day. So I'm ready to chat, and let's get into it.
Yeah, I think the perfect place to start is with Burrito League. We're recording this on February 2nd. Episode is coming out February 3rd. And the big news is finally Burrito League is over. I don't know who's more thankful about that, whether it's Andrew because he doesn't have to run the loop anymore, or if it's me because I won't be inundated on social with all the Burrito League memes, banter, and community updates. So Andrew, tell us about it. How are the legs feeling?
Today, the legs are feeling pretty decent. There's obviously still some fatigue after the big burrito finale, but I'll say, when I saw that groundhog, the groundhog saw the shadow, and that I was extended, I wasn't mad about it. If that was true, I would have been out there on the loop this week because the loop became the second home. So yeah, it is strange not going to the loop either before or after work. I'm lost and don't know what to do with myself.
Yeah.
I was thinking you were going to bring that up. And yeah, when I saw that groundhog meme, I said, is this really happening? Is there another 6 weeks of burrito fun / madness? But yeah, I don't know. I haven't been on it, of course, nearly as much as you. But yeah, I feel a little bit of me is gone now.
Yeah, for sure. You were definitely treating it like a second job, both of you. Tyler running and managing the Ottawa Burrito League very successfully. And then Andrew with an incredible top 3 in the Toronto Burrito League. I think we need to dive into the last day specifically and the feat of doing a 100 miler over the last day. I saw you started at midnight. What was your thought process? Was this a target from the start?
Yeah, we started at midnight. It was Josh, myself, and Rebecca. And Rebecca was actually raising money for a drop-in shelter. So she committed to the 24 hours, and Josh wanted to do the 24 hours as well. And I was like, might as well just jump in at midnight. I'm not too sure what I want to do. I'm not sure if I'll last the 24 hours. But the original goal going into it is I for sure wanted to try to beat my previous longest distance, which was 100 kilometers. So that was at the time, I would say it was the stretch goal, and what I wanted to do was to go to that point and then see what I wanted to do at that point. So that's what I went into it. I went into it definitely not thinking I was doing 100 miles. So yeah, there was a lot of things that happened through the day that led me to where I ended up.
Yeah, that's absolutely bonkers that you went out not even with 100 miles in mind and ended up achieving that. Can you tell me about the highest high and the lowest low of your day?
Yeah, I will say I can break it down into a few parts. And the lowest low, I would say, probably comes very early on. So I started off running with Josh. We did 50 kilometers straight of running, where Josh parked directly on the loop, which was super nice. So we would run for an hour and then grab our nutrition. So I had bottles that were measured for my carbs for an hour. And GI issues hit me early on, like in the first 30 kilometers. And then they just continued throughout the day. So there was lots of GI issues, just like my stomach was feeling like a waterbed basically the whole day. So that was not fun and not something I've really experienced to that extreme. But at 50 kilometers, it was around 5 a.m. The Tim Hortons opened. So there was like an opportunity to go to an actual washroom, take a break, get a coffee, warm up. So we went into the Tim Hortons, grabbed a coffee, and then because of how cold, it was extremely cold when that I've never experienced the like sundown running at those hours. But coming back out into the cold after not having changed, I went out of Tim Hortons and I was shaking like crazy. I was so cold. And then I ran back into Tim Hortons and I like had to mentally be like, can I do this? And like at that point, I thought I was DNFing. I thought I was walking back to the car, telling Rebecca and Josh, I'm done. Like my body is like in shock, basically. Then I left the Tim Hortons, went back to the car, and Josh, he was telling me this afterwards.
And that's when you texted me, right? You were like, I don't know what's going on. I got the shivers. This was 6:30 in the morning. He's texted me. I'm like, what the heck are you doing?
Yeah. And then I was like, to Josh, I was basically like, can I get in your car? Like, I need to like warm up. And he was like telling me after that I was like shaking like crazy, couldn't even understand what I was saying. But then I ended up getting a change, changed my socks, changed my shoes because they were slightly wet, and then put on an extra pair of pants and a puffer jacket, and then got back out. But I was in a pretty bad place at that point that I was like very close to DNFing, that I just thought I was packing it in before. At that point, it was just me, Rebecca, Josh, and Paul on the loop, no one else.
Yeah, and what's crazy is like the time that it happened at, right? Like you're not that deep into the race, or not the race, but the endeavor itself. I feel like there's a lot of parallels. Like, of course, you were having like clear side effects of the strain and the cold and all of that. But mentally, that's what I found was the toughest part of the Everest challenge. Like I called Tyler far beyond, like before the halfway mark, and I found that was the lowest low for me. What about the highest high? Because obviously when you do such an endurance event, you do ebb and flow in the way you're feeling all day. What was that like?
Yeah, I think there was a couple big highs and kind of peak moments. I think the highest high, and when the 100-mile kind of goal became reality, was Jansen came out to do his second half. And his first half, he was going so quick that and at that point I was just power walking, and I was like, if you're like, you will slow down your pace a bit, I will run with you. But if not, like I'm going to stick to walking. And he was locked in. He couldn't fall off. So like I understood.
Yeah.
But in the second half, so he went back, grabbed some food, came back, did his second half, and he had about 12K left. And he came beside me, and I decided, I was like, okay, he was going a little slower at this point, and I was like, I'm going to lock in with him and start running just so we can catch up. He came out to support, and then come to discover that he was struggling. So me starting to run helped him lock in as well. But it was at that moment that I looked at the time left and where I was. At that point, I had about a marathon, 40 kilometers in that range left to get to 100 miles. And at that point, I realized that if I did this 12K with Jansen, and then afterwards I rotated through run walk, and I started doing that mental math that I could actually hit the 100-mile for the end. So that was like a pretty...
Because you were looking for that 100-mile in 24 hours, right? In
24 hours, yes. Yeah. Like it needed to be by like before midnight. If I was really close, I still would have finished it because it wouldn't have affected the standings. But I was like, I can get this within the 24 hours. Mm-hmm. So that was and it was just a big shift of my like where I was at, of what I was getting out of this challenge.
Yeah, definitely. And okay, so I do find it funny. You mentioned math, and I think this is something that often happens in these long endeavors, is your mind just does a ton of math, seeing where you're at, what you can achieve, how slow you can go to hit your goal, how fast you can go to hit some intermediate goals. Did you find yourself at some points just like stumbling over yourself trying to make these calculations?
My favorite part was when he posted the story. I'm about this far deep. You were what, 60K in? You're like, I'm this far deep. You guys do the math at home. So you could just tell right there your mindset already.
Oh, I'm definitely stumbling as far as the how much I need to do and having to take double takes and all that. And I know at one point my watch it was about, I think about an hour and a half left. And at that point, I thought that if I did, because basically I started doing 3.2 kilometers run, and then I would do 1.5 kilometers walk, and I was rotating with that. And then I started scaling back the running because I knew I could. And then walking, like doing 1.5 kilometers run, 1.5 kilometers walk. But then at about 1.5, an hour and a half left, my watch gave me a like low battery warning. And I was like, oh no, this can't happen. So I went, grabbed the car and charged my watch for 8 minutes. And then I was like, this messes up all of the calculations I've done. And then had to start redoing the math. So then I had to end up running a lot more because I thought like by the end, the last half hour, I could just walk and like decently slowly, because I was most of the day. And when I was walking, definitely like power walking. It wasn't super crazy leisurely. It was probably like 9.5 minute kilometers or something like that. Not like crazy slow. But I know that at that point with the watch, I was like, okay, does this mess everything up? But thankfully it didn't. But I did hit the 100 at the like 11:58 or 11:59. So it was like on the dot. So the mental math was working. It was math.
Yeah, seriously, you optimized the hell out of your 24 hours. Yeah. So the others in Toronto who started out with you, did any of them complete the same similar mileage, or did some of them go even beyond that?
No, so I was the longest for the day, longest for the Toronto Burrito League loop. So the second longest for the day was 100 kilometers by Josh. Paul did 90 kilometers that day. And Rebecca, who was out there for the full 24 hours, she did around 95 kilometers.
Wow, that's incredible. Congratulations to all those that you mentioned and all those that you didn't. I saw some other people in the community did come out to run with you, which I thought was awesome. I saw Tomic there earlier in the week and a few other names. So it's awesome to see like the effort that you were putting in and the recognition that it was getting from the community, and the fact that people came out, commuted out to the loop to join you on your home turf. That's cool.
Yeah, it was awesome. And that was each person coming. Dr. Shadell, my chiropractor, I was telling her about it when I was visiting her the week of the Burrito-thon. And she was just super interested. So came out with coffee and kind of perked everyone up, warmed everyone up in the morning. And then another Jansen, who also lives nearby, came at a critical point right when I started power walking. So that was another big boost. And then there was Bree and Nancy, who were out later when I was power walking and just there to chat. Because actually my phone died of battery at this point, but died of battery. So I actually, during this whole thing, I had headphones with music or something in my ear for 30 minutes. Because when I went to be like, oh, I think I want music now, it's like my thoughts are getting a little scarier. Phone was dead. So no music, but they were there to just chat my ear off. And I like to both of them at some points, I was like, I don't know how much I can like contribute to this conversation at this point, but just keep chatting. Just keep being that just chatterbox in the ear. Yeah, I'll be listening. I'll try to contribute, but if you just want to just tell me anything, I'm all ears.
That's awesome.
That's very cool. One last question from me, and then Tyler, I'd also love to hear about Burrito League Ottawa and how that last day was, because you had quite the awesome setup. But Andrew, when I did the Everest Challenge, one of the things that I said is I wouldn't necessarily want to do that again. Certainly not solo. I didn't find it that fun, and I figured, doing half of that would be awesome. Yourself, would you recommend other people do something like a 24-hour run or try the 100-mile or the 100K, that sort of thing? Or do you think that it's not quite that enjoyable to go that far?
I would definitely recommend it. I think it's like the combination of the distance and the time on feet, 24 hours. I had around 21 hours of active time. There's like a lot of time to be on feet regardless of the distance you're going. And like the sleep aspect of it, I think it pushes you to a spot that kind of no other event is going to. And I think it's pretty interesting. I would definitely do it again. I don't know if I'd want to do it on a burrito loop. Doing my first 100 miler on a burrito loop is definitely not what I was expecting, but I wouldn't not do it again, I would say. Who knows what we'll have in store for Burrito League 2027. So.
Oh, baby. We're already warming up. That's awesome.
I like the sound of that. I don't know. I was going to say I have a hot take. I didn't mind the burrito loops. Mine was slightly longer than your segment, but I found like breaking it up like 0.5 kilometers is one lap. It was like a good way of, we were talking about it, like doing that mental math. Oh, only a couple more laps until my next break. Or it was a lot easier to take the brain power away from aid stations. You knew your aid station was only if you needed it one lap away, which again could just help you with not having to think about, okay, how much nutrition do I need to bring till the next aid station, stuff like that. So the burrito loop is not that bad.
So to your hot take, I definitely agree. And I think everyone that came out to support agreed as well that, and quote from Jansen, that was pretty enjoyable after his first half. And I agreed, but I'll say for the 100 miler, I definitely felt a lot of the overuse injuries of doing this thing on a loop, only left-hand turns. So maybe a little less enjoyable when it gets that long, but overall, I like the burrito loop.
Very true. I forgot about that. And then, of course, you had to schmaz your way through with different people's cars and stuff like that. It would be better if you had your own setup. Like we were pretty well set up in Ottawa, but we also did stay only, let's call it, a quarter of the time you guys were out there. So yeah, I just hats off. I was trying to keep up to date while I was running as well, but I basically stopped getting updates at around 7 or 8 a.m. because of the phone. But yeah, it was pretty gnarly to know you were out there double and even triple the time I was out there. So that was pretty sweet.
Yeah, I couldn't risk getting got by the Shiver Demon again. It was too scary the first time.
Yeah, that's absurd. Congratulations. Top 3 in the biggest city in Canada is absolutely bonkers. And to Paul, Josh, and all 3 on the women's side, like absolute animals is all I have to say. I'm glad that I wasn't in Toronto, but also I would have been defeated from day one with the mileage people were putting in. So it's just crazy and super, super impressive. Transitioning, moving over to Ottawa, the Minister of Burritos, as you've been crowned, Tyler. What was the experience like to put that community together so quickly, launch it, and then see it grow organically like it did?
Yeah, it was pretty fun. And actually, let's call it a little bit of a roller coaster ride for just under a month. So yeah, it was really fun. Got to know a lot of new people, just like Andrew did in his community. And yeah, just throwing feelers out there, meeting new people. And especially that I wasn't out there every day, I found it hard to physically be there. But I think on the social media side of things and like getting the buzz and the word around really got a lot of people involved. And actually some people of the community that like I totally didn't know beforehand, and now we're part of the same community. So it was a lot of fun, and getting people out there, especially in the dead of winter, was not an easy feat. But we did get about, I think I checked on the leaderboards, there was I think just over 35 participants total, like on the month. And I want to say I had about 30 people there on the last day. So yeah, it was a lot of fun, kept me busy, and yeah, met a lot of fun people.
Yeah, that's awesome. So can you give us a little bit of a rundown in terms of the partnerships side of what happened throughout the month? Because I think like we connected with a ton of athletes, but the big, we'll say, big step for Boys in Motion as a community were the partnerships that were forged out of this event.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I was just trying to pull it up so I don't forget any. I was actually very surprised of the amounts of partnerships we got, and just growing community is basically everyone's goal within this realm. So it was honestly quite easy to just reach out to people, get to know a bit of the buzz and the people around. And yeah, it was, like I said, surprising to get this much traction so quickly as well, because I know it's very hard to get partnerships with being so fast. But yeah, just to name a few, we had, of course, Sinister Sports that kind of started it with Burrito League Canada. So they gave some good some good prizes all throughout Canada, I think. So that's a really interesting organization there, just cool ultra races and stuff like that. Also, a big one for Ottawa region is somersault events. Adam at Somersault was generous enough to give out 3 top prizes for both male and female, so 6 entries total to the upcoming race called Embrace Winter. That's a pretty wild race. Maybe I would say maybe one of the only ones in Canada this cold, like this time of year, mid-February, marathon, half marathon, any distance. So it's a sanctioned race with sports stats, and yeah, Somersault runs a great event. So it's pretty interesting to see the pictures come out of there because it's right off the river.
For sure. And that is such an Ottawa event to be doing that in the dead of winter.
Exactly.
That's intense. Good for Somersault.
Yeah, like he hosts a lot of races throughout the summer, but I just realized too this past weekend he hosted the winter triathlon. So I think it was something like skate, ski, run or something like that.
Yeah, super popular on the Rideau Canal, right?
Exactly. So that was this past weekend. So it was hard to get a hold of him, let's say. And then today I just spoke to him, and yeah, he's getting ramped up already for Embrace the Winter Run. They host quite a lot of winter events as well, which is pretty awesome to see. So yeah, big shout out to Somersault and Adam over there. We also, of course, had our main sponsor, we're calling it our food vendor sponsor, was Shawarma Al Muna. Very interesting to get them on board, of course. Showing up to a shawarma spot, asking for free burritos was quite something I think I would never have imagined doing in my life, but it worked. We did get a top prize for both male and female. And of course, throughout the whole month, we had people going in there eating basically almost every day, a few times a week. It was quite fun. And I did really feel like the minister of shawarma when I'm walking in there. They're all, hey, Tyler, how's it going? And I would get some soup, some pitas to fuel my next run. So it was really fun.
You're probably wishing there was a Burrito League every month. You could connect with a local foods shop and get some samples.
Exactly. That's what I was talking to some friends at work. They're saying, okay, what are you doing in February? Let's go join in on the next trend and let's go to another food spot. Yeah, no, I'm very grateful, of course, that they said yes to that. But yeah, it was really fun seeing the community have that as their hub. And they're already a very popular spot and very good as well. So it was best of both worlds there.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, and I think there's still a few more names, right? To mention.
Yeah, so I'll do the last one here. I didn't mention Bush Taka. So Bush Taka also gave out a prize, 2 gift cards to the top finisher, both male and female, and also gave me discount codes, a little bit of swag throughout the times that I was out there, and overall support with the racing. And a big one too that we got near the end, but I think actually has given the most support out of all of them was Exact Nutrition. So they're a Canadian company, just a nutrition brand. So they focus on energy gels, chews, and actually they have really good protein wafers that I have just tried recently. And yeah, very popular in the Ottawa Gatineau market. And yeah, they were very generous at they're giving away 3 prizes, top male, top female, and the fastest lap. So I'm really happy to give out those prizes in I guess on behalf of Exact Nutrition.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And they were basically sent unlimited chews for the last day and also gave us some chews throughout our group runs. So yeah, it was very fun to deal with them, and Dennis, Tammy, and a lot of other people we met throughout for the Exact team there. So it was really fun.
Yeah, that's really cool. I didn't know Exact was Canadian, actually. Cool.
Yeah, and pretty good. I've been trying all their flavors, so that I'm going to be snacking on Exact bars every time I go out for those long runs. So I'm excited.
Can you tell us a little bit? I know it was very cold in Toronto, but I'm sure it was even colder in Ottawa and probably dealing with more snow. Can you give us a little bit of rundown of exactly how that last Burrito-thon went? I know you had a little bit of a setup with a table with all that Exact Nutrition. So tell us about it.
Yeah, so I was joking there's a big host group chat for all the leagues around North America. And I was joking. I was like, I never tried to logistically find warmth for nutrition. So I was trying to basically make sure none of my nutrition froze. So I actually got a big tip from the Toronto boys, Josh. I put a heated seat pad in a cooler and put all the drinks in there. And actually, I left it outside the whole day, and obviously it didn't get warm, but it also didn't freeze. So I had Gatorades, waters, Cokes, ginger ales outside all day, and we had, yeah, like you said, a couple tables set up. We were lucky enough to be like at a dead end on one of the streets, so I set up at a snowbank at the edge of the street, and yeah, people showed up throughout the day and helped themselves. The bananas froze about halfway through the day, so now they're good for smoothies. But yeah, we got a lot of people taking some nutrition there, and yeah, a little bit of snow on the day. Of course, it got slushy like we've seen in the past, and like you said, quite cold. So I think the lowest we had on that day was -19. I know the weekend before, big shout out to Dennis. He did a 35K effort. I think it was getting down to feels like -33. We have some of those viral pictures that we've seen. He had the wind tape under his eyes, covered completely up, and yeah, he did quite a big effort in some of the coldest temperatures we've seen so far in the year. Yeah, let's say a bit different logistically, and it was quite interesting to see the different types of strategies, let's call it, to stay warm. And like you said, Andrew, not get too warm and start shivering. Because I also did a wardrobe change about halfway through my run. So I was at about 25K. I kind of warmed up a little bit in the car, dried off, changed my uppers and my socks and shoes. And again, coming out, I felt like a little bit of that shivering. I was standing around a little bit. My shoes were cold. So I was, yeah, really feeling the cold. But then once I got warmed up and I had that nice burrito suit on, kept me warm. And yeah, it ended up being fine after a couple K of warming up.
The burrito suit was so funny. I'm so glad that you wore it. Where did you get it, and how did you come up with that idea?
Oh, you got to ask Mr. Runnerman Andy. I got home one night and it was a surprise at my doorstep. I said, "What's this?" Opened up the bag and delivered burrito suit right to my doorstep. I had to put it on. I wanted to do the full marathon in the burrito suit, but with the wardrobe change and I had to go to the bathroom at a local coffee shop, I didn't want to get kicked out wearing a burrito suit. So I decided to take it off at about halfway, and I just never ended up putting it back on. But yeah, I definitely got some looks, some fun pictures, and yeah, chasing some kids around the block with the burrito suit. People were calling me Taco Man. It was very fun. And actually, I've made it to one of the Ottawa run pages, and I think I'll have to make an appearance in the summer with that.
Yeah, I think that is it. The Minister of Burrito Affairs needed a proper suit for the day. You always see those people on races wearing the funky costumes, and it's so memorable. So I knew we needed it in the capital to make a big bang on that last day with a statement piece.
Oh yeah, what a great idea. And honestly, it wasn't too constricting. In a summer race, it might be a little different, and might actually look that I'm naked underneath it. So I might even try it in a warmer race, because that'll be hilarious. But it might be a little warm, but we'll see.
So I'd love to hear maybe a little bit about the standings and what, wrapping up Burrito League Ottawa, who took the crowns, maybe highlighting some of the biggest efforts, and maybe even just like some funny moments along the way.
Yeah, for sure. That's a great call. Just pulled it up here. The final official leaderboard sanctioned by Burrito League Ottawa, brought to you by the Minister of Burritoville. We had Dennis Kim come out on top with 328 laps. So he actually did just about 93 laps on the final day. So quite the effort on that final day. I think he got 50K between that last 24 hours. He was out there the night before, also did about 20 laps. So it was very fun to watch him and actually Stephanie going back and forth, the top female, going back and forth, just shooting blows back at each other, just the guys in Toronto. So that was very interesting. She lived nearby, so had a slight edge. But it was really fun to see. She'd go run a few laps in the morning, do her day, have work, go do a couple laps at lunch. She'd see Dennis come out and do a 10K, fix the gap up, and then she'd go out and gap him again for the next day. And that happened for about the whole final week. So that was very fun.
Yeah, I absolutely loved seeing Stephanie. I think the women in Ottawa came out and performed. Like, I think in a lot of cities anyways, there's some macho mans who just quit their jobs and lived on the loop. But I think Ottawa had a super great gender balance in the fact that the top three
100%.
women were, I think the sum of the top three women at one point was actually leading the men at some point in the month, which I thought was great.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, and actually, without my final effort, you could say they would have still passed the men in the top five, even. So, yeah, great show out for the women in Ottawa, showing that grit, showing that determination, and just having fun with it, right? So, like, you've seen some of the women out there were even just walking laps between meals after dinner, but just staying consistent. And again, yeah, it was a lot of back and forth and a lot of fun just meeting new people in the community.
That's awesome. So run us through the top sides on the women's and men's side. Let's hear it.
We had, like I said, Dennis came in the top spot. We had second come Ezekiel with 159 laps. He did his 159 laps pretty early in the month and then actually was sidelined with some sort of injury with his ankle. So he tried to do a couple more laps but ended up just not doing any more. So I think it could have been quite the spicy battle if he was stayed healthy. And then, of course, I squeezed in there with third place with basically two-ish big efforts with a couple half marathons and then I think a marathon on the final day. And it's funny because just I got the burrito brains now. I'm thinking a marathon is not that big of a deal anymore because I'm seeing some of these freaks do marathons a few times a week. So yeah, that was quite interesting to see the skew of my mileage. Like I was telling Andrew, I'm scrolling past people just doing leisurely marathons around a block and I'm like, it's not a big deal. Yeah, and then we had Lucas squeeze in there with 97 laps and he did 30 or 32K on the last day. So that was a very good effort by him as well. And the course record. So he did snipe that prize on the last day for that exact speed record. So yeah, he got that speed record. And actually this is a pretty funny story as well. So he went and got that speed record in the morning on the last day. Then we had Igor, a speedy man from Ottawa, come out of nowhere in the evening and just come out and try to snipe the lap. And he went home, go look at it, did not get the fastest lap, came back out about an hour later, hit it again while we were just finishing up and going to my just slow rolling pace compared to what he was trying to do was just bonkers to try to see around those corners. But he tried again, and I think he ended up getting it on his second try around that, let's call it second time. So again, went home, got the CR, and then I said, okay, Igor sniped it, he'll get the prize. And Lucas, out of nowhere, right before midnight, got the CR back. So he had to go back out there. He bussed to the loop to save the legs, of course, already 30K in the legs, and went back out and sniped it. So well-deserved course record for Lucas.
That's crazy. See, I knew that Lucas had gotten it early in the day, and then I saw Igor's attempt where he was successful. He ran 2K, maybe one or two loops, and got it. But I thought that's where the story ended. And I actually thought that when you posted to Instagram with the CR, I thought that was a mistake because I was like, nobody's beating Igor in Ottawa. There's no chance.
Exactly.
That is absolutely absurd. Well, congratulations to Lucas. That's awesome.
Lucas came back in and got it. Yeah. And then again, a big shout out to Mustafa. He was busy on the day of the final event, unfortunately, but he did come out very clutch for the last half hour and actually paced me for the last 5K in his jeans after a whole day of being out there. So he came out with Ziki, big shout out to her as well, putting up with our crazy ideas. But yeah, she waited in the car while he just did 5K with me around the lap and finished up my marathon with me. So big shout out to Mustafa coming in fifth there. Awesome. And I guess another funny story too, I think actually the day before I posted a leaderboard update. So just for all the viewers and listeners, every host puts up these leaderboards themselves, so it's not automatically generated, but takes a few minutes, and I've been getting good at it, let's call it. But the day before, so the 24 hours to go, I updated the whole tracker right before leaving work. I'm about to press send. I go out to the loop just to do a final recon, and I see Stephanie out there. I'm like, she already had my leaderboard was already out of whack if I were to send it in. So I deleted my leaderboard and I had to redo it before midnight. And actually I had to wait till midnight because Dennis was also out there doing laps late on Friday night. So just a couple little fun tidbits there. So that was very interesting too.
That's awesome. Yeah, and I'm not surprised. Dennis and Stephanie definitely put the mileage down. So tell us about the women's side, because Stephanie was a name that came out of nowhere, and then once she hit the top, it seemed like she was a rock up there.
Exactly. She rocket shipped up to the top there. It was Savannah at first that was going away with the lead. Then some unfortunate things happened to her, some injuries and some family business on the last week. So she did text me. She was really bummed out that she couldn't join in on the last week. But yeah, she also was, you could see, fighting really early on with Stephanie, back and forth. They were literally going daily as well, back and forth. So Stephanie was fending off Dennis and Savannah. So that was really interesting. And then I think it's pronounced Hugh, I think it is, and Alana were actually friends with Stephanie. So they started doing laps on that last 2 weeks, I think. And they, like I said, they stayed consistent. And she was doing about 3 to 5K a day, and was just going back to the loop. I would see 2 or 3 logs of the activities per day. So big shout out to her as well. That came in third place and her goal was to get 100 laps. So she came out on the last day and run up to, it was 30K. So she did, 30 laps. So she did 15K on that last day and was really, really impressed. I was really impressed with what she could get out there on the final day. So very fun leaders on that women's side as well. So the top 3, like I said, will get a prize. Alana, her goal, I spoke to her briefly too. Her goal is just to stay in that top 5 leaderboard. And of course she did, passing Emily by just 1 lap. So really fun little competition on that side too.
Yeah, that's amazing. It's great to see everybody and all the different strategies that came out, and some friendly competition between Lucas and Igor even on the last day. So fun.
That was fun.
Would you manage and host it again?
100%. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. And I think actually with the traction we received this year in Ottawa, I think the partners and the prizes with a bit more planning could get even better, and it could get organized a lot better as well with a bit more time. So I think, it was a very big success for Ottawa in general. And of course, Boys in Motion hosting this. So it was, a lot of fun. And I think I'm really looking forward to events in the future in Ottawa. So that's just a little bit of a tease where we might be getting some events here in Ottawa, co-hosted, let's call it, by BIM. And of course, Burrito League 2027. Can't wait.
Love it. Yeah, I loved seeing the final day shenanigans in Ottawa, because although we got after it in Toronto, there was no possibility of changing of podium. The gaps between the podium were just too big. So we were just in it for the love of the game at that point. So it was fun to see the games on that last day.
That's true. There was some mind games. It was like Stephanie was asking Dennis, "Oh, how many are you doing today?" I'm not sure. They didn't want to show all their cards, but they were still there was some sort of rivalry at competition, but still, of course, the Canadian way, being pretty friendly about it. So it was fun to see.
Yeah, that's great. BIM had a smashing success with Burrito League. I think it's incredible to see what we did in the 2 cities. And yeah, I'm excited to hear all of the banter and commotion running up to 2027 with Burrito League. Now that it's like a grassroots event, I'm sure it will go on in over the next few years, which is just great. I think it's good for the sport, and it's good for the community in each of the cities to get similar minded people out doing crazy things. So
100%.
There is some exciting news, which is you guys are interviewing the founder of Burrito League. Is that right?
Yeah, actually, we're recording on Monday the 2nd, and we're actually going to be recording with Jamil, the founder of Burrito League, start of all of this mayhem tomorrow. So when we release on February 3rd, we'll probably be releasing that episode the week after, or maybe even later in the week. But yeah, very excited to interview the burrito godfather himself. I think it'll be a pretty fun interview. And again, the BIM way, some banter, some actual questions, and yeah, can't wait to see where the conversation goes.
Yeah, for listeners, I don't know if either of you have a little bit of a background on where he's from, what he's all about outside of Burrito League, but it would be great to tee up a little bit of context. I know nothing about Jamil.
Yeah, Andrew, maybe you could kick it off. I did a bit of research today, and of course, throughout the month, I've been getting to know him a bit. But you seem like you've known him before this has even started.
Oh yeah, for sure. He's huge in the ultra space, even though I'm definitely not an ultra marathoner. I like to follow the people in the space, and Jamil is definitely one of the guys that I think just made ultra running blow up. So he's the founder and CEO of Air Vipa Running. So just a very big trail race production company. So they host the Cocodona 250 is like one of their big races. So he does the kind of race direction for that, the Javelina 100. And then also, and this is the reason why Burrito League started, was that Chipotle used to run the Chipotle Challenge for the last 2 years. And last year he had a crazy showdown with Kevin Russ with a crazy kind of last week, whole month. But the last week was just crazy intense with having like big 40-hour efforts at the end. And then both kind of surpassing the 1,000-kilometer mark for the challenge. So that just like absolutely blew up, became super viral. And they were like basically living on this segment. So yeah, he's done so much for the ultra community. So it'll be fun to chat with him now that all this craziness is over for this year.
Yeah, I think it's going to be very interesting to chat with him, see the inception of Burrito League come about, and maybe even his thoughts on if he thought it was going to get even close to this big. I think they've done a great job with the media part of it, the website building, and just getting everything built up so quickly, I think was very impressive. And again, I think they were saying 5 or 6 countries even this has landed to. So very interesting to hear his take on all of this as well.
Yeah, and I think we'll be having that exciting conversation, which will be super awesome to see right at the core of Burrito League. But we are also trying to line up some other conversations with different people with unique backgrounds that have been participating in Burrito League. So also, if there's anyone listening that you think would be good to jump on the pod, we'd love to chat with them, and we'd love to either send us an email at boysinmotion, boys with an I, @gmail.com, or just shoot us a DM on Instagram.
Yeah, I'm really excited to hear this conversation. I'm interested to like really dive into kind of the inner workings, what makes him tick during those events as well, but then also hear of like from his leadership in the sport and like all of the reasons that he does that and puts in that effort. And I feel like now he's big enough and he's had enough experience and success with it that he's made a full career out of it. And just learning about that story is going to be, I'm excited to tune in because I won't actually be in the conversation. So I will be a happy listener next week.
You'll be a watcher. You got to let us know how it goes.
Oh, I'll send you my notes after, Ty. Don't worry.
I think that might be enough burrito business for one day. And I think we'll wrap it up, wrap that burrito up right there. But as always, thanks for hanging out with us. Whether you're out on a run, on the treadmill, on your trainer, or out for a commute, thanks for tuning in.
Yeah, and if you enjoyed this episode as much as we did, make sure that you share the Boys in Motion with a friend, whether it's the podcast, you're joining us on runs, or just keeping up with us on social. We love to have you along for the journey.
And of course, that weekly disclaimer that we are not real ministers or senators. We are just Mr. and Mrs. Banter, and we would love to see you guys join us on the next motion.
So even though Burrito League is over, keep showing up, keep having fun, and we'll catch you in the next one.